Okay, so I figured on this one, this episode, whichever number it is, I think it's a good idea to kind of like recap everything we know, everything that's understood about the book so far in its entirety. So, I don't think you're gonna be able to hear that, but it's in the background. Um, how's that? I don't know. I'm not seeing shit on there, but hey, if it's there, it's there. That's for me. I wanted to kind of just go through, and it's because it's been, I don't know, maybe almost a month since I've recorded. I've been just so busy at work and shit that I just kind of wanted to, dick, um, just kind of see where we're at, see what's going on. I've listened to every episode once again, and I've worked on a few things because it's just been so long since I've actually done any of the work. It's like I said, it's been like a month. Ugh. I didn't purposely take time off. It just kind of fucking happened. I didn't really plan on everything happening as the way it did. You know, holiday time, being in retail, you're gonna be fucking busy because people are assholes. So I think there are just a few things that I physically worked on, and it's only three things. One, I typed it up at work. It's called for the importance of the monarchs. The second thing I worked on was I typed something up on the typewriter just to kind of keep it going. It's like exercise. You want to get out there every once in a while. And I've kind of figured out a little bit more about the circle. It's getting there. I mean, I got this picture here that you can't see because I gotta get the fucking camera ready. I'll take a picture of it right now. There. And I'll put it up. Well, why don't you have physical video? I don't know. Because it's just like, then I gotta hold the camera up to my face and talk in it, and then try to sync it up with this right here. That's ridiculous. I tried that before, and all of a sudden it slowly went out of sync. I'm like, how the fuck is that happening? Anyway, let's do this. So, as I've gathered everything about each episode I listened to, I let it sit. I had a few new ideas when it comes to story plot, things I kind of remembered, and most of it I've forgotten. But, the cool thing I found was I got thinking about Martis. And remember the episodes about Martis where I was just talking about, I was trying to figure him out and all that stuff. Well, I figured his connection with Quirtus would be, as it's wrote real quickly here, Martis was the slave of the voice of life. He swayed Quirtus on an expedition to discover what called the Valanders, the story of transformation of Quirtus. Because the idea that I had was the Slop King was calling all of his people, the Valanders, to the Valands, and that was Martis as well. And so this slave, because the conquest that happened between Tantorum and Lyria and the Valanders, they kind of took those people as slaves, the natural people of that land. These hybrid kind of people, this race of folk that was created separate from man and May. Well, the slaves are being called back from some sort of trance. They were going mad if they couldn't return. So they wanted to discover what was going on. The voice of life, slave, she said, track him, my son, kind of thing. And so he did. And that's kind of where Quirtus and Martis first met up. Now, I don't know exactly when the date should be for this. This could be 100 fucking years ago, man. I don't know. But I thought that would be kind of clever to cement their relationship together, those two. Quirtus and Martis. I mean. So that was one kind of thing that kind of jumped in my head as I was listening in on mostly that episode there. And then there was, in continuing in with the Valanders, in some sense, I wrote this. For the importance of the monarchs. When it comes to them being taught the philosophy that guided mankind, they are taught a whole new meaning. For instance, every person can understand the barrier in the fog of lies. They do not understand why it is taught. It is for their own good. As for the monarchs, they must have instilled the real truth behind this, understand the force. They are being taught so that their consciousness will be completed, and that would help for the average person. That reason would be is they can would be because they can tap into the realm of creation. They share the consciousness of man. That reason would be is I can tell I wrote this at work. They can tap into the realm. They share the consciousness of man. They must establish a calm towards mankind, dipshit. That calm will be the lock against the whisper in his fear. The barrier is much larger than a concept or life. The monarchs are the bastions of consciousness. They are put through the ringer of mental barriers and puzzles. They must be taught in guidance of mankind. They must know the pitfalls and the triumphs. They must be still and fluid as well as hard as stone. This college of monarchs is very much a school to teach kings, but understand that to be a king is because they are leaders in man's consciousness. The touch from the forgotten king have made them a portal that at any time could be inhabited. This process will repeat and make a leader that is his people, not speak for them. So the idea was, when you think about in like history with monarchs, we'll use, because it's like that was the longest reigning kind of government process, I suppose. Some sort of dictatorship as well, I guess. Tribal leader. I noticed that the way they treat a king, the way the vassals around the king are, and how they try to say, you must do this for your people. You see them kind of portray the king as this quiet person sitting on this throne, and all these fucking people are whispering in his ear what the people want, what the country needs, what the coffers need, what religion needs, and all that. And he has to make a decision. And then the way the people kind of admire, or a queen, they admire this leader, is they worship them in some sense of the word, and you know, God save the queen, and God save the king, and you know, this and that. So it got me thinking, like, these people, this monarchy, this higher conscious thing, they are the consciousness of mankind. So a good king will say, and I do what's right for my people. I do what's right for my country, and, you know, this and that. And I was thinking about how I attach that to the school with the Abeco College, where the monarchs are trained, and I thought, like, you know, a school where they train people to be, like, I say kings right now, but it's more like monarchs, and I mean, like dukes and fucking all those other terms, you know, I don't remember, counts and shit. And so it's begun. And so basically I was like, well, if they indeed hold this consciousness issue where they are part of this prophecy in some sense of the word, or they are trained because they could have a connection to the forgotten king, why wouldn't they, and especially if you make them your, what's the word, your like leaders, you know, President Jesus, as I said before, if you make that so, well then why wouldn't you be training these people, these young men and women? And so that's kind of what got this idea going about teaching them the consciousness root, right? So let me see if I can find I guess in some words, or in some, I should say in some ways, the forgotten king is looked at as a god, just like people believe that they look at Jesus in Catholicism. So, well, why is Jesus put on such a high pedestal, this and that? And it's like, well, it's built around the idea of sacrifice and this and that, but it is to God, and there's the Holy Spirit, and, you know, stuff like that. So I think I found, I'm trying to remember if I wrote this or if like I kind of read something and I just wrote off of it, borrowed some words in here. I don't remember. So, but it says faith is a response to God that in turn brings forth light of meaning to life. For the search for truth can lead one to true happiness. Through ritual, prayer, and sacrifice to bring forth belief. In man's seeking gaze, he finds this meaning, yet it takes intellect, a strong will, and true love in his heart, open to another's answers, leading him to expand upon some hidden truth. And keep in mind, we're trying to picture the monarchs here. In this expansion of faith and the search for truth, man's consciousness grows to hear the, quote, plan of God. For God looks to communicate a, quote, divine will. This is bound with one's deeds and words. At first, a quiet whisper. Then it culminates to a higher power, giving direction and purpose. So when we think about the idea of hearing God's will, hearing the plan, I wouldn't want to say a prophet necessarily, like biblically, but I mean, you could say a prophet. I don't see how that would be an incorrect statement. But when you think about the monarchs and what they represent in Adranus, or I could say a Valands society, they are the bastion of mankind. It's kind of been understood. Like they are almost like pharaohs, God-given leaders that have a divine will and could possibly channel a forgotten king, and they hold a very high divine power. So they're made as leaders in, the Avalian way. The home of Adine, is seen as almost like a temple, more than, a villa or whatever you would call it. Here we go. I'm ruining it again. So I thought with the monarchs and them being this higher kind of consciousness, because in this book, consciousness plays a higher role than what we like to accept in the real world. The fact that these monarchs, what they choose to do is the will of the people, like a king would say, it is the will of my people, Even though it's his decision, he's acting through the consciousness of mankind. So I wanted to take it a step further with these monarchs and say that's exactly what they do. They embody their people, and they are trained to do so. The reason this is all brought up is I'm going to talk about how the Valanders hijacked this. And I don't know if that's going to be the theme for this episode. I don't know what we're going to talk about. This is all stream of consciousness. I don't know what's happening. I don't even know what I'm talking about right now half the time. This is not planned. This is just going off the cuff. I'm going to read the rest of this document just to make sure there's nothing really important, because then we're going to jump into the Valanders and this new idea that it's not really new. It's just like this new perceiving of an old thought. Okay. Now, yes, this has been hijacked by the prophet and soothsaying of controlling forgotten king tendencies. At the soothsaying. We're talking about the Valanders. Because they are open to his touch, they will at times be inconsistent with their mental stability. This process of transformation brings a new prospect of immortality. The monarchs are cut from the toil when they are chosen by the forgotten king. Thus they slowly fall mad. Then they are taken to a place of the damned. With the other outcasts are placed. Forgotten and depraved of light, they have been mentally castrated and numbed to the touch of the Creator. This place that must be forgotten. That's kind of what happens when they're used up. That place I talked about with the woman, and that's where you see the trade that happened between her and Cordes for a while. The Serpentine Order kind of infiltrated this system, and they were taking these used up prophets because it was easier and no one would miss them and stuff. It's just like a mental ward in a way. So I thought, I don't know how this came to be, but the idea that these monarchs have been cut from the toil because they're replacing mankind's thoughts, they're replacing mankind's consciousness and cutting themselves from mankind's, the body of mankind. So they become immortal, but the idea is immortality breeds madness, right? I mean, it's kind of like a theme that I've noticed whenever I'd hear people talk about, like, God, if I live forever, I'd go crazy, or the concepts they show in books and movies and all that stuff when they portray immortal beings. So I thought, well, I mean, that must be the case too. Then, if it comes to these monarchs, if they are cut from this toil, then they must have to live forever, because their whole reason for the toil is birth and death and reincarnation and coming back and all that stuff. So, and that is something that mankind shouldn't have to do in the first place. So it does raise questions. Well, no, it doesn't really, because if you think about it, if you break yourself from the toil and you access what would we call in this book, let's just say God consciousness, you are separate from it. So you found immortality, right? Something that mankind has been seeking since the beginning. Well, the problem with that is, why would one become mad? Well, that also, it could first of all play into God knowledge could drive you insane because you can't comprehend it. But I think second, what it would comprehend, what it comprehends, I don't even know why I word that. What I think about is, because the Forgotten King is trapped in the realm of creation, the realm of madness, that is not a place for inhabiting for God's creations that were meant to live without. So that could explain indeed why the Forgotten King has gone mad, and why his people have gone mad. The chosen ones that he has spoken to. There's a thing that I'm going to read too, a fourth thing I forgot about. So I got a few things I guess I got to read. After this, if I can find a way to segue into it, I do have... You know what? I can read okay, I know what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm saying it like you would know. Okay. The question that has arisen. What are the requirements to enter has once again surfaced. So that's a problem. It's like, well, what does it take to be a monarch? Is it blood? Is it nobility? The noble bloodline? Is it, it's just like, this family has ruled for this blah, blah, blah generation, so they will always rule. Like, it could be that, but also it's like, okay, well, but are you chosen? Is it like real world monarchy, or is it like Jedi? Are you found? I've kind of been struggling with that concept. I like to say that it's more real world. It's more like it's who you know kind of thing. You could hijack a consciousness and stuff. So I like that idea more, because it would just, honestly, it would lend to Eris a lot better. Well, if Eris is going to be this chosen one, if he's going to have this higher consciousness power, why the fuck wasn't he chosen? Why wasn't he found? You remember that part in the book that you haven't read where it says Martis scanned over the crowd after Freyden was pulling, because he could sense a presence in the crowd. It's what I interpreted as. You could say, well, that's exactly why wouldn't Eris have been chosen if that's how easy it is to sense it? You know what I mean? Well, that happened in a moment of almost insanity, of something that never happens. But you know what I'm saying? I think it just lends in the story better to say, no, it is kind of who's got the most money. That makes much more sense to me, just because we're talking about mankind here. We're talking about greed. We're talking about people that, no matter how hard they try, they're doing some stupid fucking shit. They got these stupid fucking customs, and so, well, we have rules for that, and it just limits the fuck out of it. We've always done that. Or if we like something, we want to continue it, we end up ruining it over time slowly, because we're trying to keep the most perverse version in our minds. We do that a lot. So, I mean, I could see how that would play into, this whole process. Anyway, so yes, are the monarchs in the upper echelon of society? I would say that, yes, they are. They have to be. They're going to be the leaders of the people, so... You notice in our real world history, for the most part, we think that to be a leader in the American way, or, a president or a governor, or just, I don't know, secret societies, you have to be in this upper echelon of society. You have to be in the family with wealth, and they bought this good school for you, technically, like, okay, you can go to fucking Harvard, or I don't even know, whatever those fucking schools do. And it's always people with money who get the best chances. And they say, well, you should work for it. And people that do not have money or have, bad morals. They have bad habits when it comes to leading a society and looking at the way. That's where the idea like we look at racism's come from. It's like, no, those people we believe are fucking, they were trained how to be proper people and they can lead our society into a new age. And, why is it only rich white people? Well, that's because they had money. It's a whole fucking thing. And we tend to do that as human beings. It's going to happen again. You watch it happen again in a different form. It's going to happen the exact same way. Now, but it just won't be whites anymore. It'll be another color. It's just, we're always going to do it. It's just what it is. Nothing's ever going to change. So the idea that these monarchs would be these upper classmen and the kids in school that did better, and isn't it amazing their parents had money too? Now there's failures and all that, but when you look at the grand scheme of things, not a lot of people come from, poverty or impoverished people, people that have been forgotten. Not a lot of the time do they make a great change, and if they do, it's almost radical in some sense. Because it's a rebellion against a concept of some sort of fucking mental concept, whether that be how we rule or how we do this and that. I've noticed that as a trend. And so that brings me to the idea with the Valanders. So the Valanders are kind of like the misplaced people in, quote, the Valands, the marshes and all this stuff, the land that sits between Tantorum and Lyria. Now, because Tantorum and Lyria have been going at it back and forth for God knows how many years, almost since the beginning, these Valanders have kind of experienced this downtroddenness. They've experienced this impoverished kind of war-torn country that's, yes, they lived in the marshes and all that, but they're constantly having to deal with these two fucking bickering enemies. And so a lot of them had to flee. They had to leave their countries and stuff. They had to kind of walk away from it. When you places like Cormanio and Pacoa, is that Loivilla? I don't know. Raimier, Hermil, Ezia, Verza. All these different individual places have had their own problems, which I kind of want to work on that next. I want to work on the Valands for some reason. I want to understand what is in Pacoa, what's in Cormanio. We'll get to that. But anyway, these people have, refugees and stuff like that. They've been fleeing from their country. They've been running around. They've been going to the safe haven in Adrana and stuff. And I could either say that they went to Adrana and then, I don't know if anyone could remember, but when I described the Valanders as being kind of naturally gifted people, they had this kind of just natural, God damn it, this natural power. Let me see if I can just, my creator, he must, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, here we go. Right here, the Valands. The Valands are an expanse of 125 miles of tidal marshes that periodically flood from the current of the Illyrian Strait. During the summer months is when the water rises to the highest and floods the lowest lands of Hiramil, which is right in the middle of the Valands. Though the months never change, that is not, however, the case in the Valands. It could experience many overlapping persistent cycles, including during neural and semi-neural tides, day-night temperature fluctuations, spring neap tides, seasonal vegetation growth and decay, upland runoff from Ovaaka Heights, decadal climate variations, and centennial trends in sea levels and climate. This is not what I wanted to read. Blah, blah, blah. Valands are a place of great mystery and even darker history than was previously thought. My adventures into the ancient land has shed light upon the hierarchy that is actually present among the peoples, as well as seeing their own customs, to which I was taught the understanding of, quote, magic, which was, to be honest, all I was tasked to uncover. But I was also astounded at their hardiness in the face of an unforgiving land, the threat of outside forces pushing through their land, and how they navigate the always moving ground, quote. They are an astounding folk that have extensive history of their own, one that may yet come to light in the troubling times we see in our year 1536. Okay, here's the part that matters the most. They are They vary in distinction to that of those bred in Tantorum. Though, unlike those men in Tantorum, these are thoroughly understood as half-breeds, or Anaku men, as they have been called. Now, as to the proof of this, it has not yet been seen, but is widely regarded in the circles of Tantoric society to hold this opinion. Though their look is of an odd color, skin, they do hold characteristics of Anakume, at least in their great height and strange flora-like hair, quote, and skin. The folk of the Valands are but mere shepherds of the mires. They live in the ancient lands that have been between Tantorum and Lyria. And this means that conflict is on their doorstep constantly. This conflict has led to the oppression of the folk on either side. For you see, these folk have a power that is valuable, and that is their natural ability to tame and conquer the famed water dragons of Krykos. But not only this, they also in their shaman abilities to provide healing for each nation's forces. So as one can imagine, these people have long been suppressed and under the thumb of powerful nations. Why, even the lands seen as the unofficial no man's land, where the armistice was signed between these nations and the Valand, and part of it was the division of the Valands cut between them both. So now we see the Valands effectively cut in two for the benefit of Tantorum and Lyria. This has led to an uprising in the Marsh nations, to which has been crushed. But this is not the first time this place was inhabited by an outside force and quelled beneath its awesome might. That moment right there, where it talked about their uprising, I think that's where the mages of Oroton were. They were these group of mages, these group of shamans, whatever you want to say, druids if you'd like, just to help you picture them better, who tried to resurrect this ancient way and fight off these Tantoric and Lyrian forces. So they led these people, these Valanders. When that was crushed, that's when we see the fleeing, the refugees, it getting worse, slaves being taken, it just going just fucking downhill from there. So these Valanders either had to stay and deal with that or get the fuck out. I think the vestiges of this group, the Mages of Oroton, or the ancestors of, went to Adrana. And for some reason, I don't know why yet, I will have to figure this out, they are the ones who are now called the Prophets and leech off of the real true mages of Adrana for the gains of the Slop King. Because there was a time in history that I was talking about, I don't remember if I said it here or not, where the Slop King was calling back his people. He was calling them back. He was awakened. We'll figure out how he was awakened, but when he was, that was the first thing he did, because those were his created people. Through the consciousness of the Slop King, he called them back. And that's when the people in Lyria were saying, wow, they're kind of going crazy here. And they're talking about having to go back to the marshes. If we don't let them, we kill them anyway. Same thing in Tantorum with their slaves and all that. There might have been even some slaves in Adrana, which could explain the reasoning for the mages to be there. It was the voice of life, that would be Martis's mother, who owned a slave named Martis. And for some reason, she allowed him to return under the watchful eye of her son, Martis. Quartus. She allowed Quartus along with him to see what was going on, to figure it out. What she didn't plan on was Quartus being turned to aid the Slop King, in some sense of the word, some sort of perversion. He must have been promised something to help fight against his own mother, and I mean, obviously mankind has been his enemy, and I'm sure the Slop King can work with that, but I feel like he's kind of separate in a way. Like, you have the Slop King's creation, which are the Valanders and those fucking beasts and stuff. What did I call them? They were, I don't even remember now. The Troy Poivios, fucking the Golduf, and the goddamn dude. Forgot what I call. I think it was the Goldoof, which are like the almost like the conduits. They were physically attached to the Slap King. He broke pieces off of himself, and they became his royal guard. And then they were I think it's the Troy Poyovos. With the Troy Poyovos kind of translates to half dead. So they're like the fucked up ancestors that have come back, right? And then there's those troll kind of things. I don't know what I call it. Oh yeah, the Thier. The Thier, or the Thier. The Thiel. Thyll. However you would want to pronounce that. I think I'm supposed to say Thiel. Those are those creatures. So he made all them come back to him and work against the forces that are against them. You know, the Forgotten King and all those other beings, right? So when he called them back, he had them all a lie and this and that. So it must have been easy for the Valanders and all those creatures because of the consciousness thing. You can kind of hypnotize them. When it comes to Martis, I swear it's like he feels somewhat separate. Like he's a part of it, but he's somewhat separate. He's kind of like, he's on our side, but he's a bit of a rogue. You know what I mean? Like we can kind of control him, but he kind of goes off on his own tendency. That's why they must have instilled in him. There's a part where it was mentioned in that episode about Martis, and I talked about Quartus having Anvir, right? He's like trying to handle it more and this and that. He didn't know it was going to take him over. That must have been how the Slap King controls him. He uses the Dream Hunter within Quartus. The Dream Hunter is of his creation. So that has to be exactly how he was able to just kind of keep Martis on a leash, essentially. Instead of having, because, I mean, I keep saying Martis. I'm sorry, Quartus. Keep Quartus on a leash. Because Martis is too damn busy doing his own thing. So that's kind of the concept that I'm running with right now when it comes to Valanders. They play a very, very large role in everything right now. They definitely hold high importance in the story. Now, everything I'm talking about, I'm just riffing it out. I don't know exactly, but this is I feel like I'm getting closer to it. I'm starting to understand them a bit more. So, to go back to their attaching to the Abeco College, right? The Abeco College is where the students are taught in the philosophy of man's existence. They are broken and built again in the accordance of the need of the state. It's built upon a society that seeks the progression of mankind, to free themselves from the trapping of the gauntlet. Now this process was broken, or reshaped rather, when the prophets came to be. Those Valan exiles from the Valan campaign so long ago. They were uprooted and sent into exile because of the forces of Tantorum and Lyria. What is not known was the disturbance of the Slot King and his undergrowth. Once they were freed, they could tap into the mind of the Valanders. This is where you see the control by people such as Martis. It is a spell the Slot King has cast on his people. Much like the Forgotten King, he himself made peoples in his own image. He was part of a sacred pact with the Forgotten King, one that would be broken in time when the Aeon warred against the Darkness Pact. This is why you see different races born upon the land. Honestly, just like the Forgotten King, that's who inhabits his own people's minds. That's kind of how the Slap King navigates this world. You know, that's how he spreads. So, I know I kind of glazed over, whoa, wait a minute, the Aeon, the war against them. I long time ago wrote about this war of the gods that happened in the land. Just like all mythology. I'm not going to go into too much detail with it because need I say more? You know what I mean? Just look at the Titans. And then compare them to the real Titans, you know, and then the pantheon of gods and all that. It's literally the same things, because Whether that was because it was consciously in my mind accidentally and I wasn't thinking about it, or there's some sort of hidden truth there, I couldn't tell you. But they're pretty fucking similar. You know, just like a lot of concepts of this book are very Christian. Is it on purpose? No, I'm really not trying to be on purpose here. But maybe it's because, well, I never really went to church, so I don't know what it is. I don't know what's going on. I didn't have a religious upbringing. I couldn't tell you why there's heavy religious undertones in this. I like to believe because there's some sort of truth. There's some sort of hidden truth in our minds that we can all unlock separately, and they all lead to the same road, just interpreted differently. We all had our own map to get there. That's kind of what I want to believe. I don't know if that's true or not. Anyway, these Valanders have hijacked the religion of the Adenians and caused a shift in philosophy to take instead of aid. So you remember how the monarchs, what I said about them, what they're trying to do when the right one is chosen, the true walker, the land strider, he is the one that's supposed to free the forgotten king, right? Now, these monarchs are kind of the people, like it's the group chosen from. So you got the monarchs learning, they're through the consciousness of mankind, how to lead mankind, how to be good people, how to stave off the darkness. But at the same time, they're kind of the caste that the forgotten king gets to choose from when it comes to his coming back. And when it comes to his freeing, he needs a physical body. They are the caste that he gets to choose from. So they kind of service that secondary purpose, right? Now, these Valanders came and shifted that philosophy to hijack it into using this. This is a source of power. It's almost like they're saying, no, we can free him eventually. But in the meantime, he's a source of power. He is a source of true magic. But you need us. Because you are too unstable, but we can siphon through you, and together we can pull the magic. There's something dark going on there. So the Valanders' natural kind of ability to pull from magic themselves has allowed them to access some sort of issue, or some sort of power. But when it comes to mankind's magic, it's locked away because of the Forgotten King. Now these Valanders are being manipulated by the Slop King. The king of filth, what was his God-given, well, not God-given him, his original name, it was, what is his original name? His name is Aiko Beovas. Aiko Beovas is the Slop King, the king of filth. He's controlling these Valanders, much like the promise, where he's giving them this new ability to tap into man's consciousness. He must have something, the Slop King, physical from the Forgotten King. What if it's these scepters? Kevin had an idea some time ago about the use of scepters that could possibly be what was used to lead the peoples of Tantorum and stuff like that. What if I say that these scepters were used by the Aeon? And they are their physical barrier, their physical way to get back into this world. That's why they were made. The Forgotten Kings is now in the hands of the Slop King. I don't know how I could play into that and say, well, you just fucked up if you think that, because what's going to happen is, then why wouldn't the Forgotten King go back there? And then I don't know. I don't fucking know now. This is just all theory talk right now. We'll listen back and we'll see if we like it. Then if we do, we'll do it. So, going back to it, the Valanders have basically made it where this new philosophy, listen, man, he's there for a reason. Maybe he's there to guide you, kind of thing. It's not like they tricked him really hard. It's not like they're manipulating them too terribly difficultly. They're just saying, like, hey, man, let's just use it while he's there. We'll free him when he comes around, but let's just use him while he's there. After all, he's our God. He's your God. He wants to help you, and we'll help you too. We have a natural ability, you know. It's very sly. It's very sneaky. Let's take instead of aid. They were the power holders of the land. So eventually they came to heightened power, where it's like a king, a monarch needs them. So that's the whole leaseholder thing, to be the court consultant and leaseholder. A progress soon forgotten to be immoral. They basically just said, like, listen, we'll hold on to you, we'll maintain you, we'll keep you safe, and we'll make sure the Forgotten King doesn't tear you asunder, kind of thing. And as long as you let us pull through you, and we can do this together, it's a team effort, and blah blah blah. Basically, like, they've leached into the Adenian, Adranian, Avolian, whatever. They've leached into their society, to where magic and politics are intermingled. I think right now, yes, slowly magic is disappearing from the forests. That is indeed happening. There's no debate about that. Magic is disappearing from the forests. The crikey, what are they called? Wow, that is amazing that I just forgot. The Anakume, yeah. The Anakume are slowly fading from the world. That's not to be contested as well. That is another truth. But there is this kind of magical growth in mankind, where magic was so far from existence, is now slowly becoming intermingled with the tangible world. So when we had that conversation with Kevin, and we're saying, are we in our kind of own industrial era, and we're kind of fighting it off a little bit, but then we realized, I think so. I think this is industrial era. I think industrialization is growing, and so is magic at the same time. There's this marriage of this idea that I want to portray, which is 1900s to 1917, but magic. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck would that be? How would they industrialize magic? Mankind, this very dwarvish kind of mentality. Dwarfish, whatever. I mean, we'll get to that eventually, I guess. Some say that the monarchs could choose their students. Well, that was never found to be true. All that is understood is the select chosen are taken and schooled into making the just mind of a good, moral man. They are shaped into the understanding as what is needed for society and how to hear the voices of the people. And the next thing I wrote about them, we're going to continue the trend of the Valanders. The Valanders were taken as slaves between Tantorm and Lyra. I said that. The vast majority have moved from the Valands, but the ones that stayed were used for their magical gifts that they each inhabit. Martis is used by the Lyrians. He was taken into the charge of a high nobleman. That would be the voice of life. This might have been some connection to the Serpentine. Yes, that's... Okay, we've already talked about that. Later, King, blah, blah, blah. What is this echo found by the Lyrians? Did they understand what this could have been? Did they take it seriously? Did they tail? Yes, we figured that out. Okay. Let's make sure I've covered all my bases here. Slop King is raising his army, is calling all his creation to him, the Vanaders and the other dark beings made in the stew of his filth. It marks the beginning of the Great War. Yeah. The World War fought in an industrial era with magic from another realm. Oh, man. It's going to be exciting. It's very exciting. I'm super stoked. I kind of wanted to just talk about that. I guess I've been talking about it for 40-something minutes, but I just wanted to just talk about my update that I had, and this is what I've been thinking about. Oh, shit. With the book, as I've been re-listening to these old podcasts and stuff, but the search for Martis was definitely one that started giving this aid, because the more you listen back to yourself, trying to figure something out, the more you just naturally like, wait a minute, then why isn't it that? And you fill in the blanks. That's why I do this. If I have an audience, that's pretty cool. That's cool, man. I like that someone cares to listen. If I don't, whatever. It's just for me anyway. This was all meant for myself. I mean, the only reason it's on YouTube is because I had it on the Google Drive, and eventually I was running out of like gigabyte space because there's so many of these. I'm like, well, fuck it. Let's do it for free on YouTube. And fuck it, I won't make it private because I want to share it with the other two writers. And if anyone wants to listen. So it's one of those things. It's like necessity is the reason this is on YouTube. A lot of people will listen to it. They'll be confused. Like, what the fuck is this? It's really hard to find. And when you find it, it's hard to listen to. That's fine, man. I love it. It's like a secret. I don't ever plan on making money off of this. So anyway, back to it. Those were my ideas with the Valanders. That's the next project I really want to work on. Is I mean, I know we're doing it right now. I haven't sat down and I haven't sat down and wrote anything yet. I haven't worked on my report about the Valanders. That's something I'm going to have to do. Even though you read something. I know. It's not good enough, though. I usually like to get about my goal now is 5,000 to 8,000 words of just like a straight report of everything I need to know about these Valanders. That way I got it in my fucking head. And then we just move on from there. The next thing I wanted to do... So I want to do a report about the Valanders. But I also want to do what I want to do with this fucking episode, but I've jumped away from that, so whatever, is I'm going to re-listen to all my episodes and just make an episode and say, here's everything so far as I'm aware. Here's everything that I can understand. The way that I view it from the beginning to end and how it's all connected, and let me see if I can make sense of it in my head. If I can, then I'm on it and I'm doing a good thing. If I can't, then there are some issues. I want to see how this all connects. All these episodes, you listen to them separately, listen to them in a string, and see, does this fucking make sense? Is this world happening? There's whole topics that haven't been talked about, like Dubois. What the fuck's going on in Dubois? What exactly is going on? We don't even know. Have I ever even mentioned the fucking... what are those, Atrovians? Have we ever talked about the Atrovians? Never once. That's the fucking big empire that's coming over here and causing problems. Like, what? Well, why weren't they talked about? Well, I don't know. I never mentioned what's going on in the lands to the east and west, in the Lengur and the new continent to the east. I don't even know if I talked about the snake in the portal story. I mean, I might have fucking, what's the word, hinted at it or talked about it sparsely, but that's another topic we have to cover. So, why don't I say, I make a sticky note for myself, so I will do this. I'll put episodes... Because now that hold on. Now that Thanksgiving's over, and working in retail, if anyone works in retail, it fucking sucks. It fucking sucks. You hate holidays because how fucking people are buying their shit, being assholes, and just they're stressed out. They're stressing you out, and it could be totally fine, but everyone wants to blow out of proportion. Anyway, that shit, those fucking people tire you out, man. I was working 12s. For about 3 weeks because people were testing positive and they couldn't come into work and shit. It was just fucking tiring. But now that that's over, the holidays, it's gonna start slowing down again. I can get back to it until Christmas comes, then I'll be busy again, then I can get back to it again, and then I have January till July if the world doesn't go to chaos to do this stuff. So anyway, the episodes to do, I'll say. First one, the Valands. How am I going to do that? I have no fucking idea. The second one, everything so far. It's kind of a consolidation, I guess. Then the third one are the new topics. Trovia, Dubois, and then the fourth one, finish, the snake, and the portal. That's 4 new epis. I don't even have anywhere to put this fucking sticky notes, man. I'm running out of space. Son of bitch. Let's do this. Let's just fucking do that, I guess. Coolio? Coolio. I wanted to finish this with the new stuff that I worked on when it comes to the Forgotten King and the conduits and all that. So, I mean, we'll get to the Valanders next time. Like I said, there's a whole episode we're going to devote to them. That's between an hour to however long. I usually try to keep between an hour and a half. Try to. I really do. When it comes to being by myself. When it comes to an interview with Kevin and Jacob, that shit, it might run for a while. I mean, in my phone, I have conversations. I have like multiple conversations, at least 4 hours long each. You know, that's a long fucking thing. And it's like, I don't know if I should put that up because I don't know what's said in them, you know, inappropriate things or not. I don't know. But maybe I'll eventually do that. I'll kind of cut those up and just like, I did that one episode where I was super sick, called Catching Up. I did one of those episodes there where I threw in an old conversation. We're talking about Hill 464. So I'll at work, I'll kind of go back and listen to stuff. And if it's relevant, I'll snap it on to an episode and stuff. But this is the thing that, with the Forgotten King. And it actually kind of helps me realize some interesting stuff. There was a dampness in the air. They passed over the high reaching pillar. Looking down, he could see the endless drop, just as before. Time stretched out, and all that he could think of was death. It seemed inevitable at this point. He was lost. Confused. He had lost the plot. And now his mind, it became blank. As hard as he tried, he could not muster any strength. He knew that he lost many parts of himself. He was scattered and thrown into the wind. The dank, dark wind that was sucked into the lowest places of Yuandra. He was alone. He was lost. Lost in his own mind. When he reached out, there was none to receive him. He would not show it, but he began to face his inevitable truth. He was gone. They could never pull him back. It was saddening. So close to another, yet so far away in his mind. His heart to bear had long been broken. It was pieced back together, but still the cracks are too large to mend. It was temporary, just as he was. Hopefully, so was this feeling. Why can't I feel it anymore? Why do I feel undead? His mind pondered that thought. Death, mortality. Was it a curse? It seemed to be a curse, moreover. His hands were trembling again. He knew it was coming. The storm. His heart sank. It was so slow-moving. Time had all but stopped. What was there even to prove? Nothing more could have been said. Talking to myself. Crying out loud. The naked thought, so abstract, meant everything to him. He could become lost in an idea. One so far from where he was, yet it would grow so close in his heart. He remembered when he forgot how to swallow. It frightened him. It could come back at any time. He felt the boiling in his stomach climbing up to his throat. He was so far in his own head, it felt like there was no way out. Swirling around, hitting every wall, like that of a moth to a flame. Afraid, scared. Darkness was creeping in all around him. The king's voice was taunting him. He was losing against the fight. He thought about them, Anna, Nacum, how he needed them to pull him away from himself. Though they would never understand. He needed them. For just one moment of relief, a reprieve from the pounding sadness and doom that would never stop plaguing him. It would lead him to anger at another. A spell cast in his mind to shame and doubt that which was really written in his own soul. Who's in my mind right now? He found the words leaving his lips. Nacum looked back at him puzzled. He just shrugged, and with a questionable sneer, returned his eyes to the front. Eris felt shame. Was it him, or was it the king? Who now controls his thoughts? That leads to this. The Forgotten King. This is him. Can you see the image played out before you? What could it have been? How will it manifest? It was not there before, yet now here we are, looking. It has taken on a life of its own. I myself have watched it grow from a young idea, and now look at it. It lives. No longer to please me, it lives not beyond what I would like it to be. It is its own. No fear of what another would perceive it as. I can only balk at it. A life so holy, now gone beyond. It was not my intent to make it so, but if not for this moment, then what truly could come next? The comfort and appeal of a warm vintage thought, so simple and pure, so much closer to heaven than we will ever be, ever again. It's a wonder and exuberant. I would wager that it could have never been this way if it were not plucked from my mind. Though saying that, was it already a place? Did I pull it from a faraway realm that was slightly unlocked in my mind? Where was it? Why do I seek to return? Have I been here before? Still too many questions. Way too many. My thoughts lost and swirling adrift in the concept of a closed mind. There was no endless travel any longer. The portal is closed off, though the tissues of my brain and the swelling has begun. I need to alleviate it so that I may once again look upon the world with love and happiness. I am the king that has been thrown from my creation. I dare say it is my own creation, but it could very well not be the case. The true creator has that answer, one that he will not give me. Damn, I am lost. Lost in these words. I try and see it once again, hoping that the right word, or succession of words rather, would open the way again. Perhaps it's like a muscle, one that must be used often, so that I might return. I continue to walk in and out, yet I've never learned to close the door. This is a place realized in my mind. I must learn to find the door, penetrate, and then shut it quickly behind me. The search for the door. I find myself on a time that makes me so very lonely. I am adrift in quiet despair that not a single soul will ever know. Time here moves in reverse, it feels. I've been here so long I cannot imagine anything else. It takes away my mind and replaces it with repetitive actions and tasks, just to remain afloat in the end. I begin to search for the door. How do I do this? Is there a trick? Will an addiction help me? I could sit alone forever and ponder the questions that have never been sought. Or I can try and relate once again to the people who look at me and see. Well, I don't know what they see. Right, the door. In the fabrics of my thoughts, it lays hidden like the fabled myth of the other realm. It is one and the same. You never know when it comes, but when you find it, Then will you be enveloped by an old familiar feeling. The ancient peoples and their beliefs of that other world. That thin veil to a place that is so beautiful, then so sinister after a long stay. That is what I seek. That is where creation lies. For that is why the creation realm lies beyond. It's in the circle of thoughts. At its center is creation. The place that will allow you to find a way back in. To see those faces that you made in the image of you. Your people. The ones you need to save or have saved you. Why have you put yourself in such a vulnerable position? This is someone speaking to him. Though I dare not say I need to, however, and I hope you do not mind, but I think we should return to the task at hand. Time is of the essence, and it is, I'm afraid, running out. Yes, the door, right, yes, the door. Oh, where art thou? What incantation do I need to speak? Is there a spell passing from my lips that need to be uttered? Must I to quiet my mind, or does it come to me in its own time? I wish I had an answer to this. Alone I sit, thinking of how to find the way back, and never will it come to be. It will only find me. But in that realization, does that mean I have prepared myself for its arrival? What if I can identify it? Will I miss it? Is that what I feel bombard me in my stirring? My falling into slumber? You overthink once again. Let it flow like water. It will seek its lowest point. Do not be angry. Remain calm. Breathe. Hear the music. Fall. Fall into the embrace of beauty and walk again amongst the edge of reality with me. Let us go where there is no time. Not like we could ever understand it. We shall be free in the trance that is just before the fall. We are here in the darkest of places now. The first step in the world, under it rather, Calendre, where you first inhabited. It is full of ruin and dark thoughts. It is a quiet place. One that you made. It is your very mind. Once a place so vast and lively, now fallen to ruin and darkness. We are here floating in the stillness. Do not fight it. We are here. Let us find the surface. We needn't explore this place in its entirety. We emerge into the fields and trees of Gale. It is beauteous. Upon the cliff's edge, we look out and see an endless forest, an immense open valley of Gale. A place that you let your brother make, I might add. Do you remember? Do you remember when you used to talk of him? When you used to talk to him? As a friend? That time is long gone. The remnant of music can still be heard here, if you listen hard enough. You can also hear the other brother you lost here as well. He is the spirit that wanders alone forever now. You can feel his touch about everything here, can't you? Or rather, hear it. His beauteous song. The one that made you jealous and destroy him. This realm is of man now. Tantorum, as they call it, is born in the hope that one day humanity will emerge from its harshness and despair, to rise up and be one with the creators. That would include you too. But let us go back, for I wish to wander over the vast, dead ocean, the hot, a difficult place now called the Murphos. It lies beyond those mighty mountains, tallest in the world. We will return to Trinity, but first I want to take you where the Bastion of Man resides in your honor. I want to take you where the union of mind and soul could happen. And it could be amazing. Let us travel over the mighty Galiavala Mountains. The reverberating hum under the flowing winds. The sounds that echo across and play out a song so somber and sad. I'm sure you can't remember why they sing. And that I cannot tell you either. but it plays an important role, one that will shape the world in a new image, one that is cast in the shadow of your own fear, if you let it. I know you want this to end already, but allow me to take you quickly over so that we may see the mighty Murphos. Standing here upon the apex of Yuandra, the highest peak of the world, we can see out, and we can see out there the Murph. Those beautiful shades of brown. Her peaks and valleys echo something that you forgot so long ago. They echo you. They are so close to your heart. In fact, I am sure that you do not remember why you have created them. Do not worry. In time, it will come back to you. Let us venture forth and see what the Murphos has to offer. Down the mountain we descend. A fall so profound that I could never find the words to achieve what transpires in such a moment. They, I'm afraid, will also be lost forever. Now look out. Look to the horizon. Watch the Kramos rise and cast a bronze over the dull land. All would appear that is dead, but that in fact would be a lie, for the immense wealth of life has found a way to thrive out here. The Murphos is a magical place that I believe you have never truly respected. It hides many a mystery, most that will never be found. Just see the rocks and stones and dead things. They make a place so hard and unforgiving. It is a place of the dead. Why do you think that it was always sought after by mankind? They think they understand, but they could never begin to grasp just what wealth of power lies out here. Though there are some men who do. Men that are a part of your ambition, I might add. Men that seek to drain that from you in order to complete some bastardization of faith that you once bestowed. They will succeed, though, not for an age or two. The secrets of the Murphos are held well under the swirling sands. You have done that. Did you know? That was because of you. You have buried many things here, all for yourself to find, in moments such as this, with me as your guide. They do not understand why you took life from here. They never could. But your spell is waning fast. Fear grows once again in the dark places here. You have not spoken once. I would not let you. You listen. Something that you have always done so well. So then listen to me now. You will be freed. It may take longer than you would like, but it will come. And the Murphos will hold more importance than you will ever know. Until the end. It is all and nothing at the same time. But now we must leave the sands, the labyrinth of sands. We must go forth and find the hope beyond, the flicker of sanity in a world full of insanity. A place that was devoted to you and all that you have and all that you have ever stood for. Though as we journey, I must tell you that it has become corrupted in time. Corrupted by men you never gave any thought to. Those that dwell in the Valands. That is what you did. Sorry, let me just reword that one. That is what did you win in the end. Not tying up the loose ends that frayed before your very eyes. You watched this all unfold, and in fact, you helped it. The men who play with fear. This vast place known as Adrana, a region that lies away from the turmoils of darkness that is spreading all over, that you and your brothers have created. In your mind, it depraves your thoughts, hasn't it? But here, it has cast a shadow and kills all in the dark places. It is winning right now, I'm afraid. But the reason I take you to one of the last touched places is because this is where you have banked all your effort. In this region, in this people, moreover, in fact, in one young man. One that will cast light like the hero Tan. He is your divine chosen son that will save you with his own sacrifice. He is the plan, though he will never know of this until the very end. That is when you will see. You speak to him, taunt him, force him to be the tool of your freeing, but remember he is young, fragile, and so unsure of what is around him, that even the slightest inconvenience will be his mental downfall. Wherever you leave him, he sits and rots there until you move him once again, like a piece on the game board. Do not forget him. He loves you, remember. This place around him was always meant to serve him, this realm of Adrana. It was his place to explore, yet you kept him in the safest place you could, so that you may take him out and use him at your will. In your eyes, he was always a tool. He is more than that, remember. He is the casting of your demise. Always will he be. What people place around him will eventually cause harm to him, whether they want to or not. It will happen eventually. Need I say more? Look after him. Let us look upon Adrana one last time before we go, for I am taking you back to the Dole. Though remember, this is how you enter. You listen to me and relax. Let us go together into the breach. This is the way through. Next time, save the son you were never given, and help him shape the world. Help him free it from the darkness it consumes. The depression that fogs your mind is linked to the fear that spreads here. It is one and the same. Darkness. Darkness take you. Do not let the world in your mind be tainted by the world that you have been cast into. For you are there for a reason, that realm of creation. It is falling apart as well. You must save that one just as you will save this one. Remember that. Fade away. A violent awakening. The power surging and coursing through. You have been cut off. The tie that you have had has been severed once again. It is now growing farther away. No, it cannot be. Not again. He attempts to pull. He is fading from the realm. He will be lost. No! And that's where it ends. That's the beginning of the book, actually. I figured it out. That's how the book's going to begin. Conceptually, I remember I was struggling with, like, well, do I want Eris to be the vocal point? Do I want him to be the whole reason for this book? You're looking through his eyes and everything happens around him. And that's when I came up with that problem where I was like, should I basically... Hold on. Should I tell the story of Martis? Should I get into that and just say... Or sorry, not Martis. Cyphrus. And have Cyphrus be this kind of... Like, you get to watch what he's actively doing and what he's thinking and all this and that. And I was like, well, most stories, it's like, you get to, aha, he was betraying you all along and all that. Whereas I'm like, no, I want people to watch it happen. So if I'm doing that, then why don't I do that with Forgotten King as well and just start the book with the Forgotten King? And so that last part, it's saying like, oh, you're being cut off again. You're losing it. You're going to go into sanity. Then all of a sudden, like, I'll show you how it reads. The violent awakening, the power surges and coursing through. You have been cut off. The tide that you have had has been severed once again. It is growing farther away. No, it cannot be. Not again. He is attempting to pull. He's fading from the realm. He will be lost. No. Then all of a sudden, the riotous sounds were replaced with an abrupt, utter silence. The frenzied men halted. In unison, they looked upon Freyden lying on the floor, lifeless and still, hands bound, bloody and pale of skin. It had gone too far. Bam! So it's like I connected those pieces, and you get to see this all happening. And then all of a sudden it goes to Eris, and you're saying, oh, shit, and you're actively listening and watching the other side of the story. You know, I've always wanted to kind of focus on a side of a story that, I mean, it's been told. It's happened before. I couldn't tell you examples, but I know it's happened before. And so I wanted to kind of explain, why don't I tell a story where you are the bad guy? I mean, there's a lot of analogies in that as well. Like, if you think about the analogy of what that voice was telling the Forgotten King. Like, you need to guide him. You need to help him with this world because you created it for him, blah, blah, blah. That's totally an analogy for, the older generation. Being a father to a son you never had. Like the younger man in this world. You have to set an example. Don't just shun people for being bad. This world's doing right now is just stupid shit. And so the concept of this book I was trying to explore was just like, I'm trying to do that with the book, and I'm trying to help. Yes, I fucked up a lot. Yes, I've had issues. I've done things wrong. I'm still continuing to do things wrong. I'm not enlightened by any fucking sense of the word. But I understand that I'm an example to these younger fucking guys around me. I don't hang around with kids really, but I guess in like my life, as of right now, at work, there's young guys I work with, right? I'm an example to them. I'm an example to how I treat ladies around me, whether they're, girlfriend, mother, sister, or chicks you just work with, like I'm an example as a man to them as well. So you have to take that seriously. But I wanted to take it a step further, and that's the whole point of the book, is to reach a wider group of people because, not only because the virus going on now has fucked everything up, but I wasn't a fucking worldly person. I wasn't going to go around and like do missionary work or, big brother, big sister stuff. And I live in a small town. I have a small mind. So that's what I want to do with this book. I want it to be this story of growth, but you get to kind of witness it through the darker side of it. You get to kind of see as a child looking in an adulthood. I wrote this as an adult wanting to be a child once again. So I figured, why not have the focal point, the viewpoint, the important point as the darker side of the world, where it and every part of it wants to believe that little bit of good there must be cherished. Some say it must be destroyed. Some say it must be protected. Every viewpoint that you're going to explore throughout this book when it comes to Vathia's story, how does he view that little bit of good in this world? It must be fought after, must be protected. Everything around it must be killed. When you talk about any other character, the way they view that little bit of good. And that little bit of good is Eris. Eris is more of a object than he is a human being at some points in the story. He's just there. He exists, and he's this kind of philosophy, this concept. Even to a god, he's a concept. And that's kind of the route I wanted to go with him. It took me a long time to kind of figure that out, but I could have wrote a story and it was Eris and it was a hero's journey and self-discovery and birth and rebirth and past the unknown and, the tropes. I could have went that route, and then and all along he was fucking betrayed by Nakim or whatever. That doesn't happen, but I'm just throwing people off. It could be, I could have done it that way. A cute little story. But I wanted to take it further, and every time I would rethink about it, I would constantly be on the other side of it. I would just be, I'm a writer. I'm writing a story about a fucking person living in a world that doesn't exist, right? So I kind of realized that in time, I realized who I am and what I'm dealing with is this story. So the part that I read about Eris and how he was feeling, how he looked at the pillars, right? And he's like, am I dead? Am I undead? What's going on? And he looked at Nakim, and Nakim scoffed at him, right? That little one that I read before, that was how I felt I was sitting down and I was like, I don't know how to find this book again. So I just wrote that. That's truly how I felt. Like, why can't I feel it anymore? Why does it feel undead? Why can't I obtain this? Because this book feels like a realm to me. Like, how come I can't jump in here and start writing about it again? Why does it feel like there's a mental block? AKA writer's block. Why can't I do this? And I was scared, and I was like, I just wrote this. And that was truly who I am. The Forgotten King was me again. I was sitting there. The Forgotten King is me. I'm just like, how do I access this place? I don't know how to fucking do it. I'm confused. And is it a word do I have to speak? Do I need to smoke a cigarette? Do I need to, like, what do I got to do? Do I have to have a repetition? How do I access this realm? And that voice was just my inner writer, I guess. I don't know what the fuck it is. This divine writing God, the writer God, telling me it's a fucking door. And it's in your head. You just got to open the door. But remember to close it before you leave. Or else it will drive you insane. Because you will live your life. I'll walk out in this world, go to my truck, and like I'm in the darkness. And, like you could drive yourself insane with this book. When you create something, it haunts you. So it was literally an exercise of talking to this inner voice of mine about this book. And that's when I started realizing that these concepts and all that were just my life. It's a fantasy book. There's going to be like soon creatures and stuff because I'm starting to think about some cool shit. I want to put fucking mythological creatures in here now. I want to talk about some crazy stuff like that. That's going to happen soon. But as of like right now, I'm like, dude, this is your life. You're writing you. You're writing how you view things. You're basically capturing your essence, your, I don't know, soul, I guess you could word it. I don't think it really matters. And you're putting it to paper. You're writing down who you are. So why not be honest about it? So there's going to be certain things, man, they're fucking embarrassing. Like when there's a part where I talk about his feelings towards Cadmus's mother. Cadmus is his friend. It's like a childhood friend. And how he sexualizes her in his mind. And those parts of the male brain that just kind of say, I am what she needs and blah, blah, blah. And, you just want to fuck her, basically. There's those parts I wanted to explore, but then I had that same thing where, her husband passed away. And there was a glimpse that he could see of her loneliness. And he felt so bad and guilty for how he visualized her. And that's kind of real as a person. Like I'll see a woman, and if I'm attracted to her, I'm going to go that route. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as you don't treat them like shit. I mean, you're going to think dirty thoughts about people if you have an attraction towards them. It's all about, as they always say, like your actions. So I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to, I fucking didn't want, it was so just cringy. I hate it so much. That chapter I wish I could just skip, but it's got to happen. I got to talk about life like that in every aspect, because we tend to shame certain things, and especially in this new world, being a guy, man, holy fuck. I don't know. I wanted to just kind of talk about that and explore, the concepts of life and all of its aspects. And even if it's dirty and dark, it's got to happen. So I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a bit far. There's some parts that it's just, though, at the same time saying that, I feel like it's something's positive's happening there. You don't want to get cocky, but when I read that thing just earlier about the Forgotten King and that voice talking to him, I wrote that because it was an exercise, like I said, and then I got done with it. I didn't read it. I went to work. I'm like, okay, whatever that was. And as I've said before, I stream of consciousness, right? I don't think. I don't like plan thoughts. I don't, in a way I do. Like the Valanders, you do. That's the reports. And then I listen to it over and over and over again. The whole reason for these episodes, or it's like, God, he's working on that one idea. Who's Martis working for? Yes, that stuff I do plan, and then I write it out just so I have a storyline. I have a plot. I don't have plot holes. I don't have weird wait, he was here, then he was there. That doesn't make sense. That's just to keep it steady. But when I sit down and write, I turn my mind off and I just start going. So it's hard to be consistent about lore things when you do it that way. Sometimes you write a new thing. You're like, well, fuck, you said that Murtis was 98. Now you're saying he's 74? Weird shit. It's hit or miss. So I tend to kind of write, stream of consciousness and then build off ideas from there. So I'll write to a point and then I'll stop because I'm confused. Then I'll reread it and say, fuck. And then I go back and do all these episodes to unfuck what I just did, essentially. You dipped into the pool of wealth and of knowledge, and now you're just sitting down trying to make sense of it all. That's what these podcasts are all about. Me making sense of what the fuck I just wrote. But when I read that back and I was editing it a little bit, I just was like, this... I don't know why, but I was like, this has to be the beginning of the book. This is the first thing I want people to read. I don't know why. But that's what it is. It's almost like I'm trying to set the tempo. I don't know if that's the right way to word it, but I want to set the standard. I want people to see what I'm truly writing about. Now, what I read out is really unedited. The only editing I did was grammatically. Like, did I spell words correctly? And, that's it. I haven't really edited that fucking piece yet. So I can make it better. I can make it more elusive. I can be more vividly detailed. And that's not going to be hard. It's just daunting and annoying. But unfiltered, man, I just thought that's it. That encompasses so much of what I'm trying to accomplish here. And so I'm definitely going to put that in the beginning. And it fucking just tied in so well. The way that ends and the way the part with Cyphers begins. And it just helps this theory of writing in the darkness. The idea that you are watching Cyphers do these things to Eris. You are watching the Forgotten King doing these things to Eris. Instead of just being Eris and dealing with it and being in the unknown world. We like to hear our stories on the side of the good guy, the young farm boy, the unknowing fucking kid that lives in the streets of, Constantinople. I don't know. I forgot where Aladdin grows up. I forgot. Baghdad. Sorry, Baghdad. Why would I say Constantinople? I don't know. But we hear that story and we get to see their viewpoint of the world and their eye-opening. Just what the fuck, because it's a hero's journey. It's a philosophy in a sense of adulthood and growing and all that. I wanted to write the other way around because we've all been through that shit. What if I wrote a story about us looking back, us being on the side of the corporate world, us being on the side of the person, knowing damn well they're doing something wrong and watching the young people suffer. And we're just like, fuck, I remember suffering. Why not write a story like that? I thought that'd be so clever. Not like... I shouldn't say clever because it sounds like I'm up my own ass. I mean, I thought that'd be interesting to do. I say clever like in an English way. That'd be terribly clever to do that. But I just thought it'd be kind of cool. Why not try to explore that? That would be very unique just for myself. Because as a writer, I wanted to explore every aspect of the book. But then... I was always like, should I, it's always a struggle. Like, should I say these things that I know or should I hold them back? And it's like, fuck it. Let's just go. Let's just tell this story the only way you know how. And that's by starting at the middle and working your way to the end and then figuring out the beginning later. I've always loved that. That was honestly why I was attracted to Star Wars so much. I don't remember which Star Wars I've seen first. I really don't remember. But I do know it wasn't episode 1. I remember watching that on television when I was young, but it's just... I've always loved it. I've always loved jumping in right in the middle of something. Like, what's going on? Fuck! And then everything happens and all of a sudden it's over. Well, that's cool. Let me go back to the beginning and see how these fuckers met and, how this and that happened. And that was kind of what I wanted to do. with the book. This story that's being told is kind of at the end. This is the beginning of the end, really. Yes, I understand what's happening with the snake in the portal, and I get it, and I know what's going on and all that, but if I was smart, I'd tell this story about the downfall of the Forgotten King. Because you're still going to be hearing the story of the Forgotten King. It's just he's looking through the eyes of Eris and taunting him all along the way. Because it's so... I'm kind of like... I think personally the first book so far is like the hardest to write. Because it's setting the tempo, it's setting the mood, it's setting the standard. It's all or nothing. This is the one that's going to hook people and shit. I'm really excited about when like shit's hitting the fan, when they're in 464 and or when like it's kind of nice sounding. Or like when Eris goes off and does his thing, and this when we start hearing about it, Avathian and Alistar or Elastra. When that starts happening, I'm so excited to see what this fucking story is gonna shape. Because eventually it's gonna splinter and it's gonna be a bunch of different people living their own lives, and there's a lot of thoughts exploration. I think I've said it before in the first episode when I was nervous doing this because I knew people were gonna hear me. I was thinking like, dude, like the philosophy of just the writers of Jacob and Kevin. And how they are as human beings, and the way they view this world, and the problems that they have in their personal lives, and the truths they found in their lives, how it's captured in the book. But at the same time, it's also this study of this person and that person, how they can meet up and be friends together. How people that have totally different beliefs, political views, background, I don't know, just about everything, how they could still get together and collaborate and be positive. It's terribly, interesting to think about that being captured in the book with these characters. To tell people, like, of course no one's going to take it, but say, guys, what the fuck are we fighting about? Like, it's all bullshit, man. Fuck it. That's what I'm excited about. But, I mean... I don't know, man. This is an update. We've, it's been everywhere, but it's whatever, I guess. I always try to think, like, stay on track, stay on point. I just, one minute I'm talking about the Valands, the next minute I'm talking about something that doesn't even matter. That's the book, I guess. I mean, shit, I could go on all day, just hanging out like this and just talking about shit to nobody. What two people listen to it. I could do that. It's not a big I don't know. Fuck it, man. I don't know. It's that thing. It's like, well, if you tag the videos properly and this and that, like, dude, I don't care that much. I'm just putting these out there, man. What are you gonna put the tags in for this video? Fantasy, book, world building, talking, podcast, philosophy, story building, just fucking anything. I don't know. That's usually what I do. No one watches them anyway. Whatever. It's okay. What would I call this one? I don't know. I'll think of that off audio, whatever you call it, off the mic. But that's pretty much the new updates, man. It's kind of where we are right now. I mean, now I know my goal next time is going to be to work on the Valands. Yeah, that'll be fun. More like frustrating, but we'll give it a shot. We'll do the Valands. But when it comes to writing, I am. I feel like there was something about a beach. What the fuck was that? Let me just see if I can find it. Hold on. Too many fucking sticky notes. I'm gonna see where I last was. I just put down right chair. Rest in the hay. Where's Freyden? Okay, here we go. Here we go. Yep. Okay. Come, we're leaving. Yeah. Okay. I'm almost out of Oleron. Checkpoint Oleron. Then we're gonna skip, hop, and jump to the entrance of refuge. Essentially, that's what it is. Where Eris is having confliction. His first confliction. Once I bridge that fucking gap, I have to edit the part about 464 and Cypher's talking to Nakum. Oh my god. Once I do that, I'm good. I'm caught up. I can finish the fucking book because I'm in Kilendre. That's gonna be the last. I'd say if you cut it in fours, the story, I'm at a little bit past 3/4 way done with the first book. The big climax has got to happen, and this and that. But I'm that close to the end of book 1. And then it's just editing for a long time. And chopping stuff up and just, slipping things in that I want to, doing all that stuff. It's like building a song, you got all the pieces there. Now or a movie more like I should say. And then you just start like doing the edit. Start putting it together. Start seeing what you're getting out of it. So yeah, I got 2 more fucking things to do. It's been so long since I've done it too. I wish I could see how long ago. But we are at almost 80,000 words. We're getting there, man. We're fucking getting there. It's going to be probably a 120,000 word book by the end of it, I'm going to assume. So I'm really not that much more to go. It's just very, very cerebral. It's very conscious of what's going on in plots and errors and shit. So that's all it is. It's not like I know what I'm going to do. I know what's going to happen in Calendre. I know exactly what's going to happen. I know the outcome. I know what characters I'm going to introduce in Calendre. It's going to be fucking crazy. It's going to make the book take a crazy twist. I know what's happening. Oh, I just got to do it. I just got to get to that point. But anyway, I think I should end this one. It's a bit longer than usual. Hour and almost 40 minutes. So, yes, man. I think the next one shall be the Valands. That'll be kind of cool. We're going to talk about something totally new. That's going to be a lot of sources I'm grabbing. A lot of reports to write. I need Kevin's help on that one. The Valands are Kevin's project. That's his brainchild, honestly. Actually, the Valands, I actually made the word the Valands. It's not a great word. It's not like I'm like, yes, and I fucking the Beatles, like, even though that's not great either. It's not like that fantastic. It's just, I had the word there. He said, what if we switch the Valands from here to here and it's a marshland? Oh, okay, that's fine. And then he took it over, honestly. I'm the one who said, well, magic in the Valands. And then Jacob helped me with that. It's a collaborative effort. It's going to take a collaborative work for us to figure out the Valands. I want to get together with them today. I want to work on the Valands. But if not, I'll find another time. We'll hook up all together eventually. Yes, so that will be the next project. Will be the Valands. I think that's it, man. And I shall be heading out. I don't know what I'm doing the rest of the day. But until next time.